another, this one here really do it for you.
Baby, the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I'm on the floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours. Let me show you how to the floor is yours. 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 The floor is yours.
Now it's my turn to tell y'all about my big bro Gerard and the podcast crew.
Hey, good evening to the Floor family. This is the Floor is Yours podcast. We want to say thank you so much for tuning in. This is a special episode tonight because we're going to recap the event that we've been talking about so much lately to get you guys updated on how it went down this past weekend. And I got to say before we get into it, just how super proud we are of everything and everybody that participated. It truly was a phenomenal event. We couldn't do it with all the support that we had, and most importantly, we could not have done it without God. But before we go another further, we want to encourage everyone that's watching right now to please like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends, your family, and your play cousins that the Floor is Yours podcast is on, where it is our purpose to bring real and relevant conversations to move the needle forward in our community. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Please do not adjust your sets. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a special announcement today. The Floor is Yours podcast has a new member. So ladies and gentlemen, I am honored. It is my pleasure to introduce y'all now permanent resident of our cast. Miss Matwana Bruce is in the house. So Matwana, come on now. Tell the people a little bit about yourself. The floor is yours.
Thank you. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Matwana Bruce. I do reside here in Texas, Texarkana, Texas, to be exact. And I'm so glad to be a part of this team. It's a valuable and needed team.
Yeah, we're glad to have you because Gerard and I have been looking for a long time for the right chemistry with the right female voice, and you bring it. Now, she just got through talking real soft and nice, but don't let that fool you. She can get crunk, y'all, and she's going to put me and Gerard in our place from time to time. But we're so grateful to have intelligent, beautiful, wonderful Black women in our lives. So thank you, Matwana, for joining our team. Gerard, what's up, homie?
Say hello to not much, man. How's everyone? Over here got the, doing my little producing thing. How's everybody? Appreciate you. Hey, in the audience, as Gregory said and Matwana said, it was a great event this weekend. There's a lot goes on behind the scenes that, it's challenging to say the least, but you know what? It's well worth it. The way the city showed out, and we'll get into this more later. The way y'all showed up and supported us, like, we can't say enough. We've been like literally on a high ever since then, but this was fun. We're going to recap it tonight. So as always, we need y'all active in the comments, sharing what you, your own experience, what you thought about it if you showed up. But if you got any questions too, we're going to recap, Gregory, too, right? Some of the discussions that we had. So as always, it's going to be a spirited discussion tonight about some tough issues. So just stay tuned with us, comment, interact with each other in the comments. So just let's have a good time.
Absolutely. So the Create the Life I Want men's mental health experience happened this past Saturday, September 27th in Texarkana, Texas. Let me tell you, what an awesome opportunity. You've heard me say this before, that it's very, very rare that men get a safe place where they can feel safe enough to be transparent, to discuss their mental issues, the struggles and the battles that they're having. And that was the sole purpose of this event, was to create an environment where men could come, feel safe, just drop all the bags and just say, hey, here's my challenges, here are my hurts, and here are my pains. And we wanted to provide an environment where we can help support them with some tools, with some information, and most of all, just let them know that they're not alone. To let them know, hey, there's some people out there that care about you, Black men. And so we wanted to provide that environment. And we're so grateful that we were able to put on this event. And we were so even more grateful for just the support that we had. And I know, Matwana, you and I were talking before we started the show just the camaraderie with everybody on the team. It's like everybody was present and engaged and willing to help. Did you get that same feeling?
Yes, I definitely did. We were all on one accord. We were unified, and just the overwhelming help for people who weren't even on the team,
Hmm.
especially when the room started overflowing and we started to
Yeah,
have to get chairs
yeah.
from another area. So, thank you to everyone who helped, even in that aspect, because you didn't have to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were overwhelmed with the amount of people that showed up. And so we had to make a pivot. So there were some adjustments that we had to make as far as location. And I have to say, we exceeded the room capacity, which is a God thing, right? You do things that are for the betterment of people, and people show up. And so we were just overwhelmed, and we were honored that we had to act. Some people actually turned away. I mean, we didn't want them to leave, but some people chose to leave just because it was at capacity. But we wanted to serve everybody there. If we could have did it 2 days in a row, we would have, just to invite everybody in the community out, because we really enjoyed what we did and we really enjoyed the feedback. You know, we were talking about the camaraderie, not just the people on the team, as you said, Matwana, but the community. There was not one person that I ran into that wasn't willing. If it was just setting up chairs, if it was,
Mhm.
hey, do I need to bring you some bottled water, or do I need to send this email? Did I make a phone call for you? It really, really blessed my soul, because as a man, it's nice to know that men's mental health is a priority and that the community cares about us and how strong that we are. And so I was extremely, extremely grateful for that.
I
So
agree.
while we were there, we got into some deep waters. I mean, we asked
Mhm.
the men to come with it. And we presented some tough questions. They presented us with some tough questions. And what maybe for you, Matwana, was one of the standout questions or remarks or comments that were made at this event that go, that was a good one. That was a good moment.
I would have to say when you were doing the keynote speaking, and
Wow.
I'm saying this
Keynote speaker.
well, I actually got a text
Yeah.
about a phrase that you said
Okay.
during your speech, and it was about the burnt toast.
Yes.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
text
Yeah.
me and they were like, I had a burnt toast moment this morning. But
Yeah.
because of what, the encouragement that you gave, that burnt toast moment then go follow them throughout the day. They were able to pivot and shift back and say, hey, just because I had this burnt toast doesn't mean that I have to let it continue to control my day.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And just to kind of recap for the people that are listening, I want you guys to be left out in the dark. I was referring to the scripture that says, the joy of the Lord is our strength. And so the devil puts these hurdles and obstacles in our way to steal our joy. And I just ran through the scenario. You had a rough morning, and you had a flat tire, you're late for work, you get stopped at every stop sign, and you burn your toast also. And I mentioned that all the devil has to do is simply burn your toast, and he can steal your joy. And we want to be stronger in our mental capacity as Christians, that no matter what the devil steals or tries to distract us with, he can't steal our joy, because the joy of the Lord is our strength. And so if the devil can steal our joy, he can steal our strength. And we don't want that to happen. And so
Amen.
thank you for sharing that. That was a blessing to know that what I shared was beneficial to some, which is good, which is really good. Gerard, when you were there, hey, what was like the standout moment for you? What was like, the cherry on top? What's your big takeaway from your time this weekend?
Yeah, and mine is one of the topics that we actually picked to discuss. So it was about the safe space, and so
Mm,
it was one of the more spirited discussions at the event. But even outside that event, since then and many times before then, people talk about, especially men, they talk about their hesitance about sharing what they're experiencing, what they're feeling. They talk about how they re- with just like some regret, if you will, sometimes afterwards, but
yeah,
even beforehand, some hesitance to share what they're experiencing with their mate,
right.
right? So that
Hmm.
discussion was needed, and hopefully we can unpack that a little bit right now on
Yeah, yeah,
how to create
absolutely.
a safe space and how important it is, how necessary it is for a healthy relationship.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
just want to say, I think sometimes it's hard for women to understand why men are hesitant and why it's hard to share with their mate. Because when I think about women, we have a friend group that we can cry in front of, we can scream to the top of our lungs, we can talk crazy about the man that just broke up with us. Like we have that space where we can just
yeah.
be free to even sometimes, as the new term now, crash out, right? And men don't have that naturally. And so,
Right.
like anything else, when you're used to doing something, sometimes you wonder why you can't do it without having that deep understanding that men don't operate. They don't have that space like that because they've been told not to cry. They've been told to keep their composure. They've been told to control their anger.
Absolutely. You know, the definition of what a man is very narrow to begin with. And then as we go down further to what the definition is of a black man, it gets even more narrower, right? And so, men, a lot of times, black men, we feel like we're walking on this tightrope of what is acceptable for me, what is not acceptable for me socially, because I don't want to be looked at as deficient or not as a real man. And so, I'm towing this line that oftentimes it's not beneficial to my mental health because now I am forcing myself to keep my emotions inside and I am holding everything in that needs to be released, and that's not the way that nature works. If whatever comes in has to flow out eventually or you will explode. The saying goes that women explode but men implode, right?
Hmm.
So women have the ability, as you were saying, Matwana, to go ahead and release those emotions in front of their friends and their families and in their girl groups. But men, what happens is they just one day, unfortunately, they take a gun and they end their lives because suicide by firearm is the number one method of suicide by men.
Yeah.
And
The
yeah,
suicide part is always unfortunate, and not to gloss over it. Definitely don't want to do that. But there are signs. Like, how do we get there? And initially it's like, for some reason, again, number of reasons, we come home. I've heard guys talk about how they sit in their car, and like have to literally be pressed. And I was thinking about when I heard that comment, like what it must feel like on the other side of that door to say, like, you know what, I didn't spend 8, 10, 12 hours at work, you
mhm,
know, um, journey through rush hour traffic and all kinds of whatever challenges to get there. But when I get there, I'm not ready to go in yet. Think about that.
yeah,
What is that guy experiencing on the other side of that door that makes him sit in his car 15, 20, 30 minutes or circle the block a couple times and get his mind right before he goes in? And again, I don't want to make this like we're bashing women or accusing women for what they're dealing with, but this event
right,
is like to get at the core of it. And sometimes what's causing the hesitance of sharing may have nothing to do with her and everything to do with what he's been through, his experiences, his own trauma, his own baggage right there. So again,
right.
we discussed it, we didn't get to unpack it, but hopefully we could talk about, like, Gregory, maybe we can talk about a few things that make the guy hesitant to speak out, and then we can maybe talk about some ways to address
Yeah, yeah, great. And one of the things that was great about this event is that when we looked at percentages, there was more women in the room that were men, and that proved to the men that were in the room, women can be a safe place.
it. Yeah,
And so that was very comforting to see that there
yeah,
were women out there who are campaigning and championing for men's mental health. One of the things that bring men to that point oftentimes is that the first most important and probably the most formative relationship in a man's life is that with his mother. And so when the mother relationship is strained, that kind of sets the pace and the tone for how he interacts with all women and his expectations from women. And so if there is a challenge or a friction between him and his mother, there's going to be friction with him and other women. So he learns that he needs to either submit to women or dominate women based on his interactions with his mother. He needs to either submit to a woman or he needs to dominate a woman. It's very, very few times that the men are able to fall right there in between. And so when that is not successful to him, he feels like a failure. Well, I'm submitting to her, meaning that I'm trying to accommodate her. I'm trying to do everything that she wants. I'm buying the Birkin bags. I'm taking her on vacations. Whatever she says jump, I say ha ha. I'm just trying to keep her pleased. Well, that doesn't work. because women don't want a trained pet. They want a leader. They want someone who's able to lead with decisiveness. So that doesn't fare well either. And then he tries to dominate, and that doesn't work out either. So he feels like a failure. And when that fails, he has no other recourse. If he doesn't seek out wise counsel or therapy, he feels like a failure as a man. And oftentimes, when men feel like failures that don't seek help, they feel like there's no solution but to unalive themselves. And that's a stigma that we want to change. That no man is perfect. Every man's going to fumble. Every man's going to fall down. But when you're in a community like the event this weekend, you will then begin to see that it's just normal. It's just normal. The second biggest reason is because men reach their capacity, right? Everybody has a mental limit. Everybody has a breaking point to where I just can't carry anymore. The stresses at work, the stresses at home, maybe some physical illnesses I've had, the expectations of getting older and how to pay for college and how I'm going to do retirement. All of those things weigh on a man. And when he feels that he's at capacity, again, he's at a dead end. I'll just take myself out of the game instead of trying to figure out a way to win the game.
So
And
let's
so
let's
that's
talk about that a little bit. So that capacity one is
yeah.
another one of the main reasons we had this. What we found out that we were shouldering loads that we weren't meant to shoulder. So right,
Yeah.
sometimes we come into relationships thinking it's our job to save people from everything that they've been carrying, right? And
Right.
Right.
it's not only is it desired, but it's encouraged. You're the man. You need to
Mm-hmm.
XYZ for this family. And to kind of even
Mm-hmm.
make it even more challenging, we're getting in relationships sometimes with blended families, right?
All
Kids
right.
from previous
Yeah.
relationships, in laws. So all those things like there, it's important that we address them. We just can't act like they're not there. But
Mhm.
a lot of times, even myself, um, we're not conscious at a level high enough level to know how to address them. It's like we'll deal with them when they get there, and it's harder then. It's not that you can't then, but it's harder to
Yeah.
deal with it when you haven't even talked about. So one thing that I do, Gregory and Matwana, is I try to inventory my life, what's going on, the people in them, and also what they got going on. Because if I'm in a relationship with you, what you
Mm-hmm.
got going on, it should be important to me too, right?
Yeah.
So I can't
Yeah.
Mhm.
just act like,
Absolutely.
yeah, what you got don't matter. So there becomes this thing what we call competing traumas. Whatever it is
Mhm.
that the lady I'm in a relationship with is important to her. The things that I'm in a relationship with is important to me. And as long as, we're hunky dory, it's no issue. But when something blows up or I feel unappreciated or she feels unheard, you know, those traumas begin to compete for relevance in our lives. Right. And
Mhm.
at that point, especially at the height of those arguments, no one wants to hear what you got going on because then it becomes what about me? What about
Mm-hmm.
me?
Right.
So maybe we could spend some time talking about how to de-escalate the situation in the moment because that's when most of the damage is done. Tempers are flaring. I'm angry. I'm upset. I don't feel appreciated. I may say some things that I feel, but and they may be true, but maybe in a less loving way, and maybe the timing is off. So how do we deal with those in the moment?
I think to not immediately respond or react. When at the event, Gregory mentioned counting to five, one Mississippi, two Mississippi. And even me in some situations, it's okay to say, give me 5 or 10 minutes and we'll come back to this. I think a lot of times how it flares up so quickly is because mentally you think you have to emotionally respond, emotionally react, verbally say things that you can't take back. And somebody between the two of them has to be mature enough to say, wait a minute, this has escalated way too quickly.
Yeah, that's true, Gregory. And in those moments, especially like when we're doing these kind of events, we're learning, and we think that we are equipped for the next argument. And cowing down seems like less manly. So like, okay, you know what? I talked to Gregory. I listened to Matwana. I'm ready for her the next time. And in the heat of the moment, I'm not waiting 5 seconds. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to deal with you now. So here it is. I done said something unloving or in a harsh way, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That you
Yeah.
can't take back.
Yeah, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube after it's over, right?
I
It,
like
it,
that.
it, it is out there. It is out there. You have to then be responsible for the damage that's done. Now, hopefully, you can practice that. Like you practice it when they get your order wrong at McDonald's, right? You practice before you speak. So you want to start practicing in smaller cases. So when the big cases come, that muscle is stronger. So that's how you get to that point to where you're able to regulate those emotions better. So you practice when the toast is burnt, so to speak. But then also you have to be accountable that when words that are said that are harmful and hurtful, that you circle back and apologize. Now, the best apology is change behavior. So after you've acknowledged that you have done that, be intentional about not repeating that behavior. Now that is a common thing. You're not going to get it right the first time. So no one should beat themselves up if, oh, I shouldn't have said that. What's most important is that you show the maturity and the intentionality that you care about the relationship enough to go back and say, I should not have said X, Y, and Z. The X, Y, and Z is critical because you need to have an understanding of what pains your partner. And so you
Mhm.
want to say it for them. It's better if you say it before they say it. So you want to be able to say, I should not have said this about your mother, or I should not have said this about your outfit or about your job or wherever it may be. And doing that can help the situation better.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back though about how men keep stuff in a lot of times, and it's a common emotion. I know Gerard, you and I've had a conversation about this multiple times, and it's the issue of shame. A lot of times men do carry shame because they're not able to fulfill whatever those society expectations are of a man. And because I'm not 6 foot and I don't make six figures, I don't have the six pack, I don't drive the fancy car, I don't have the mansion, everything that society says that you must have to be quote unquote a real man, there's a level of shame that's attached to that, right? And so if I'm walking in the house after 15 hours of work and I'm still not making enough money to send my to go on a nice vacation with my wife, I feel embarrassed about that, shame about that. And so highlighting what Matwana just said earlier, it's very important for a man to be appreciated for the level of offering he's able to bring. If it's of integrity, if you see your man working hard and he's doing his best, let him know that that's enough. Let him know
Mhm.
that what he's doing is of value. And what that does is that it brings down the shame. The Bible tells us that Adam and Eve were naked and not ashamed. And that illustrates how we should feel in our marriage and in our relationships, where our vulnerabilities and our blemishes can be on full display and we still not be ashamed of it. It could be on full display that I have a beer belly. It could be on full display that I don't make six figures. However, I don't have to be ashamed of that because my wife is helping create an environment that I don't have to feel shame about it.
Yeah.
That's a good
That's
Mhm.
point.
that's good. And you highlight the importance of being able to be encouraged, or how necessary it
Hmm.
is for a
Yeah.
woman to encourage the men in her life. And again, sometimes
Hmm.
we focus in on the mate, but that's for the kids, for your siblings,
Mhm.
whoever, your coworkers,
Yeah.
men. And Gregory, you talked about this on how encouragement can really drive and spur us on to even greater heights, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Maybe we could spend a moment there and talk about what encouragement looks like, and not some fictitious fabricated, oh, you just such a great man, and oh my God, you could save the world. Not that, like pinpointing like what's necessary, knowing your mate, what makes him tick, what
Yeah.
what discourages him, what is his fear. So
Yeah.
encouragement, it can seem small, but it goes a long way of pushing us on
Oh
to
my.
great.
100%. 100. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to go back to the shame. I think it's important for women to know that you can help him not feel ashamed by not putting expectations on him that you know that he can't reach at that time. Gregory mentioned, maybe not being able to take your wife on a nice vacation. Well, why can't both of y'all pay for that? Like, why is the expectation just on the man to fund that? If you're in a marriage, you're in a partnership, it shouldn't be on one person, especially when it comes to things outside of the house, outside of, paying the bills, groceries, rent, and all of that. It shouldn't be on one person. Like, I have friends who, if, their husband pays the mortgage and the bills and they take care of everything that the kids need, whether it's the school clothes, if they're in sports, like it shouldn't be one person. So You shouldn't have shame for not being able to take someone on a nice vacation when she should be able to say either number one, pick a less expensive destination, right?
Yeah.
Or say, if you really want to go to that destination, we can pay for it together.
Yeah, that's important. It almost seems ridiculous that we have those conversations on, money is limited. Like even the wealthy have to plan, and there's a limit in how they spend, right? So if
Hmm.
you got somebody that's a millionaire or making, upwards six figures, they have to be mindful of their spending. So for whatever reason, though, in the community and the working class, I don't know why we have this mindset like if I got to say no to a trip or a purchase for my mate or hey, we need to save for this. Like that makes me
Hmm.
less of a man or whatnot. That like this, I just don't get that.
And I
Yeah.
think the woman can do her due diligence and find resources. I myself, when I plan trips, I have a travel agent, and we pay that
Hmm.
trip out, right? So again, it goes back to that financial burden shouldn't be just on the man. Like it should be a partnership on, okay, we're for sure this is the destination that we want to go to. This is how much it's going to cost. This is the plan to get there.
A lot of people do put a lot of focus on money, but we don't consider that money is a finite resource. It does have an ending. It is not constantly flowing in. You do have you spend it, you spend it, you earn it, you spend it, you earn it. One of the things, though, I think is that we overlook the other gifts that men do bring into the home: creativity, leadership, safety. He's able to bring a sense of organization. He's able to bring a tone and a demeanor to the home, right? And those things you can't put a price tag on. If this man is making $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year, 60,000 a year, but he's bringing true leadership to the home, the children feel safe. The children are nurtured. He's bringing a sound spiritual mind to the home. Those things are priceless. We can always work on enhancing our skill sets. You can always go get a certification and earn more money. But what is harder to find is a man of good character. That man of good character, we can train him to earn more money. But it's very hard to train a man who is a high earning man to be a better character. And so we want to be careful that we're not putting the cart before the horse and not putting the things that are less important or harder to find in front of the things that are actually more essential and more vital
Yeah.
to
That
the
old saying
healthiness of
that
the home.
the one thing worse than a fool with no money is a fool with money, right?
Absolutely,
So,
100%.
yeah, so
That's
yeah,
right.
you're right. So, and those things are invaluable. Like you can't put a price on those things. The
Yeah,
To not worry month in and month out if your bills are paid, if you got a roof over your head, to not
yeah,
worry about where if you can put groceries in
yeah,
your fridge. Like those things might seem small. You might not be taking trips out of the country,
Right.
past where you might not be up in Miami, New York, or LA. You might not get to go and have a hot girl summer weekend or whatever it is. But it's priceless when you know you got somewhere to lay your head at night and
yeah.
bills are
Right.
And with
paid,
yeah,
kids are
and with that, you have structure and you have safety and you have
yeah,
leadership. Your kids have a positive male role model to look to. That those things are priceless.
yeah, for
Hmm.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. You had mentioned earlier, Gerard, about encouragement, and one of the things that we had a conversation this weekend, I forget when, about encouragement and love being tailor made, and I think that's the key ingredient. Like, how do we put meat on the bone when it comes to how to encourage your man? First, you got to know your man, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of times people will look at the content that I produce and like, well, I don't really need to hire you because I can just look at your content. It's very motivational. Well, motivation is free. Specificity is what costs you.
Hmm.
Specificity is what you pay for when you want to work with me. And so with the person in your life as a man, the lady that you choose, it's the specificity that you're looking for. Does she know your dreams? Does she know your biggest dream? Does she know your biggest fear? Does she know what makes you tick? What makes you feel small? What makes you feel strong? All of those things. That's how a woman truly encourages a man when she takes the time out, asks the needed questions about where is it that you see yourself in 5 years and how can I help you get there? What's the part that I can play in making your dreams come true? Making it very specific to the man that God has created him to be. And you will see that that encouragement will just be like fuel to him. You just lit a match and it just blows up because like Gerard said earlier, a little bit of encouragement goes a long way.
Yeah,
And
I can
somebody
hear
at the
some women. I can hear some women saying like, "What about my dream? What about my hopes?" If I'm here pointing to this guy, like, you know what? Um, when does what I want become important? And I'll just answer it short before I punt this to you. That we're not saying neglect your dream. We're not saying overlook your dreams and your promise, thing that you were promised as well. So how do you balance then, right? To know what he needs to make the family, hold together versus the dreams and all that you want to do as well, because they're equally important, right?
hmm And I think some of that ties to uh, generational trauma, what Pastor Riley had spoke about at the event, because I think about watching women watching their grandmother and their great grandmother do absolutely nothing but be a wife and a mother. And after their grandfather passed, they finally figure out that their grandmother wanted to be an attorney, but never did because she put her life on hold so that grandpa could live and have a career and do all of that. And so when that mindset gets passed down to women, to say, don't put your life on hold for no man, right? Fulfill all of your dreams. Don't get into a serious relationship until you feel like you've reached a good place in your purpose. And so that's why you hear, Gerard, women saying, what about my dreams? Because they hear their grandmother and their great grandmother, or they have seen their grandfather um, do their grandmother like that. And I think, number one, that healing of that trauma needs to be, that needs to be healed first. And then there needs to be an understanding with the man. Like you just said, Gerard, this is not negating your dreams. I'm just asking you to help me support mine too.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. We do respect that the needs of of women are equally as important as men. But I just want to applaud the ladies, including yourself, that was out there this weekend for the Create the Life I Want event, for showing up and allowing us to freely express for hours on end. Here are the pains and hurts and struggles of men. That was a beautiful moment. It really encouraged me that as a man, that there are women out there that are safe places and that we can be vulnerable and not be looked at as weak. That vulnerability is not considered to be weakness. Vulnerability at its best is direction. Vulnerability is saying, here's the best way to love me. Vulnerability is saying, here's a better way. It hurts when you do this, so don't do that. Do this over here. Vulnerability is really direction of the best way to love a person.
That's good.
And the ladies that showed up exemplified that, and so that was another great takeaway from the event
And
this
let me just
weekend.
add just one
I
other thing
agree.
on that too. When you have different goals, which is okay to
Hmm.
have, I agree. Totally subscribe to that. It's prioritized, right? What's short term, what's medium, and what's long term. Understand like what's most necessary at the time, because if you got kids too, it's not just you two. It's what the
Right.
kids need. And then when we're we got a few years under our belt, few notches in our belt, you know. So here is another consideration is when you're talking about retirement, like most of us we talk about, we don't want to be working, ourselves into the grave, when we're
hmm
75, 80 and still having to work. So as time goes on and we're forming relationships, new relationships later in years, you got to take those things into account, right? I
Right.
mean, yeah. So how, I guess I'm asking, maybe Gregory, this is for you, and then also you, Matwana, how do you prioritize, the goals, the dreams, the wants versus the needs, because all that matters, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first it comes with having a vision. I think, the Bible says the people perish for lack of vision. And if you don't have a vision of where you want to go, then you don't know how to prioritize. People don't get out of life what they want because they haven't identified what it is that they do want. And so first, when you have prioritized, okay, in 5 years, I see us paying off the house or paying off the cars, or I see me graduating from college, going back in and getting a degree. Once you have the vision clear, then you're able to prioritize and say, is this moving toward our goal, right?
Hmm.
And so that helps clarify a lot of the decisions that are to be made when you have to prioritize household responsibilities. What is the goal of this house? What is the mission of our family? And then you can make the best decisions going from there. But then also there are some exceptions to the rule when you have to look at the pain points. Who is suffering the most and who needs to be relieved? And so if the mother is or the wife is feeling overwhelmed with managing the children, well, first thing we need to take care of mom. We need to make sure that she feels healthy and that she is able to be comfortable in the role that she plays and the responsibilities. And so that maybe us researching how to lighten her load a bit so she can be the best wife, so she can be the best mom, and good to herself as well. And so creating a vision is number one, and then number two, uh, who is in the most pain, so we can relieve that pain, helps us prioritize best.
I like that one, especially that second
Yeah.
one. Real quick, I'm sorry, Antoine, but just thinking about
No,
how
I was just gonna say I agree. I agree with that, and I think just to add to that, to make sure you keep communicating it,
yeah,
right? Don't, after you write the vision, don't just write the vision and then don't come back and talk about it on a regular basis, or don't
Yeah.
just address the pain points and don't talk about it on a regular basis.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, and that's how just think about how loving and selfless that is right there to say, hey, what's
Hmm.
hurting you? I know I had this dream. I know I wanted to go to school, but right now you're stressed. So I'm gonna punt that
Right.
to a next semester maybe, and 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 make sure that we get you in a space where you feel and appreciated that you're just healthy, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
And it just shows that you listen and you understand,
Yeah.
And we don't judge. We listen
and
and
we
we don't
don't judge.
judge. That's right. That's right.
Which brings up the next one. We talked about some. I don't know who brought it up, but sometimes when we get into these conversations, we want to answer right now. We want to bring this thing to resolution so we can move on. But I say often that everything is not to be resolved or solved. Sometimes it's just an understanding. Like this is what you got going on. This is what I got going on, and sometimes that's the best you can get, and there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the Bible teaches us when it comes to love to let love bloom in its appropriate season, meaning to abstinence before you're married. But it says to let love bloom in the right season. And so the same is true for conflict. There are some times where we have to admit we're not going to come to a resolve right here within the next 10 minutes. Let's go do some research. Let's go find out what are the best options for us. Let's just not in the conversation. We're just taking a pause on the conversation to where we can calm down and come with better research and a better approach so that we can actually accomplish something that's effective instead of just fighting to win. We're fighting so that we can succeed. And so I think that's very true.
And I think it's also important to find that fine line between let's put a pause on this and not ever come back and talk about it until somebody
Hmm.
blows up again.
Right.
Um, a lot of times you have people who say, I don't want to talk about it. Well, then it happens again because you didn't talk about it the last time it happened. So I think you have to find that balance in putting a pause on it, but also making sure it doesn't get forgotten.
Yeah, and that's true. I've been guilty of pausing and saying we're gonna come back to it, and like what, we peaceful now. Let's go take this trip. Let's go on this date, and that like
Yeah.
everything that happened. Yeah, so that those.
But it's just laying dormant.
Yeah, yeah.
If you don't address it, it's laying dormant and it will rise again.
Just putting a band-aid on it. Yeah, it's not healing. It's just got a band-aid on it.
When I bought
Yeah.
her a bag, and I took her to dinner. Like she's ungrateful to keep bringing this stuff up, right?
What's that?
I said I took her to dinner and bought her this expensive purse, and you
Mhm.
know, so what she got to complain about? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
That
that's
that
insulting
doesn't
because
solve the problem.
and you're showing her that you can buy her feelings, and that's I know not you, but men, we
yeah,
think that we can buy our way out of an argument, right? Let me go get you a nice
Hmm.
gift, and then that'll shut you up for a little while. That'll buy me some time. And some men
I
do
like
think
where
that.
you going there. Like, let this shut you up because I could imagine
Hmm.
that's how women take it. Like, you know, when
Hmm.
about this, it's not just like, hey, let me make it right. It could seem like let me
Hmm.
shut you up.
Hmm.
Right. But then you see these memes and jokes is like say me and him in an argument, and then when he say, "Are you hungry?" that solves the argument. That's not reality. It's funny, but it's not reality.
Sometimes
And
hunger make you angry.
women, women, whether we talk about it or not, if it's not resolved, we'll hold on to it, to that whatever emotion is attached to that situation until it heals, until it gets
That's good.
resolved,
And then just to
or they'll
bring
bring
it
it
full
back up.
circle, yeah, and just to bring it full circle, because you said until it's resolved. Again, sometimes things are not necessarily resolved. And meaning, like, hey, you want me to get rid of that hobby? Like, no, we may not. I might not. I'm going to go play basketball on third Saturdays with the fellas, and you know what? You say like, hey, I want to go do something else, and so it might not be to your liking, but I understand, and maybe we can do something different. I don't know, but I guess the point I'm making,
Well,
like,
I think agree to
resolution.
disagree is a resolution. We can
Yeah,
agree to disagree on something, and when we agree to disagree, that means that we have heard each other and
but
we
what is
know how
that?
each other feel.
But
But
doesn't
we
that
come to an end.
disagree? Doesn't that disagree leave it like some sentiments like we're still at conflict with each other?
No, I don't think so, because like the example you just said, you're still going to go play basketball on Thursday. So why would I raise my blood pressure being mad about you going to play basketball on Thursday?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, depending on the severity of the conversation, agree to disagree is it does leave room for conflict. If it's in regards to maybe sexual issues, one person wants it more, one person wants it less, or what church we go to, or parenting issues. Sometimes you do have to come to a resolution. Where are we going to meet when it comes to how we do we spank our children? Do we not spank our children? Are we going to a Baptist church or a non-denominational church? And some things you do have to eventually come to in agreement with. One thing I would like to encourage couples to do is to have regular check-ins, whether or not that's once a week or once a month. Always come together and say, let's do a check-in about our marriage. Where are you on this issue? This is where I'm at. This is why I feel it's important. And the spouse has that. And you try to find a middle ground and say, okay, maybe you believe in spanking children, but you do not believe in spanking children. Well, how about if we do feel we need to punish our children, the furthest we will go will be a slap on the back of the hand. Is that okay with you? And is that okay with you? That we can always kind of mediate or negotiate to find some sort of common ground because the goal is to keep the marriage strong, not to win the argument.
That's good.
So
That's good.
Gregory, let me ask you this: those
Please, no.
specific
I'm kidding.
examples that
Okay.
those specific examples that you just gave, wouldn't those be discussed before even getting married?
You would hope so, but you would be surprised at what people don't talk about before they get married because,
Oh wow.
butterflies and I'm in love, all of that. Uh, some people are conflict averse, right? So they're afraid to ask their partner, hey, can I look at your credit report? Have you ever had any STDs? You know, those things that should be known before marriage, some people don't bring up until it's too late, or they find themselves at a crossroad and now I got to make a decision about what to do.
Yeah, and the other
Yeah.
part is, hey, the comments are coming in, and we appreciate it. We're actually about to pivot to get some of them, but I was just thinking about Matwana, what you just asked. That we can talk, you know, frequently, and regularly, and we'll never carry cap not carry, but capture every possible scenario. So I think it's important to build some foundational understandings as well. But I think the most one is that everything that's built off of love and patience and grace, I think it'll be able to cover in a time of conflict. But let's go to some of these comments because they're coming in, and that's one of my favorite parts of the show. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, we got Heather Sanders. She was in attendance, her and her husband, and she actually brought a nephew too, and we got some good feedback from them. But Heather says
Okay.
it was amazing, and my nephew enjoyed it. He said he
Hey
will be
Heather.
attending the youth event whenever you guys put one together. So she kind of teased out that at a youth event coming up, and we'll talk about that later. But thankfully, we talked about making sure that we build the community up around us, right? It's not just me and Jerry. So in this instance, the wife came, but she also brought her nephew, right? It's not just her
Hmm.
immediate, but she extended it to her family. So that was just great to see right there from Heather. But I'll let you both respond to this if you want to.
Yeah, that was powerful to have a young man in the audience. We gotta stop looking at our boys as children. and look at them as men in the making, kings in the making. You
Absolutely.
know, these are our future leaders. These are our future politicians, our police officers, our firemen, our pilots, our doctors, our lawyers, our teachers, our nurses. This is our future, and so we gotta put our hands on them, but we gotta love on them early. You know, so we
Hmm.
can get them, you know, pointed in the right directions. And will they stumble and will they fall? Sure, that comes with growing up. But they know that they're in a safe place and they got some blueprint of the way to go. That's powerful. So hey, I can't congratulate them enough for bringing their nephew. Way to go.
Yeah.
And
Good.
all of the other young people that came, we started out saying this is a men's mental health, and just to see people actually have families, bring their
Mhm.
families, not just men, but men and women and children.
And even if
Absolutely.
their men were not in attendance, they came. It was like, man,
Right.
let me get this so I
Yeah.
can take it back to him, but not just take it back to him so that they can learn on how to better, engage with their men at home. So that was powerful to see. Even if their men wasn't there, they was in attendance to try to see how they
Hmm.
can grow and come better. Yeah. And a good friend, Denisha, she said hello. Thank you for
Hey,
attending.
Denisha.
Yeah, she helped. She's always in the comments inviting people to the show. But yeah, she was in attendance too. Um, Mia, one of our faithful followers, she said, agree, Greg. I think she made a mistake. She meant to say agree, Gerard. But, you know,
No, she didn't.
I think she did. It's easy to see how she could have mixed that up. 'Cause
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Agreed.
yeah. But Greg always dropping them gems, man. Appreciate that right here.
Thank you,
Um,
sis.
yeah, we got another YouTube watcher, Uncle B Pipe Smoking. That's a dope name, but he said, love this podcast. Keep up the good work. And, speaking of encouragement, like these things right here,
Yes,
they help you feel good to know that what you're doing is meaningful and it's helping somebody, right?
Amen.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And then Mel was just saying what we were just saying. That's good. Y'all dropping those gems.
Hmm.
Uh oh yeah. Other one she said, huh, we might not judge. But she said with the side eye as
We do
well.
side eye.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's always fun when we see Dorkeisha in there. But she said a comment. She says, "I'm not sure what the topic is, but for what I'm hearing, I think both party partners should value each other's goals." So I'll let both y'all talk about
Yeah,
that.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that you can't be just all right wing or left wing. You need both wings so the whole bird can fly, right? And so we do value the importance of mental health and goal setting for both the woman and the man equally as much. We were just saluting the women that said, "Hey, you know what? We're going to take a pause and allow space for men to share what's on their heart for a moment." But you're absolutely 1,000% correct.
Yeah, yeah. It's my good sister from another Mister Levita. She said, "Hey, brother, listening from Hawaii. What's Hawaii like? A boat,
Ooh,
5 6 hour
Hawaii.
change? Yeah. So, man, maybe we come over there and do some surfs up. Maybe we can shoot on
Oh yeah,
location in Hawaii
I
or
would love that.
something
Put
like
that on the
Yes.
that.
calendar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Vita, appreciate
Let
you.
us know how we can do it, David.
Yeah, for sure. And this is from I think, Brother Todd. He was one of the panelists there. So
Hey, Todd. I
this,
hope
What's
y'all
up,
made it
brother?
back safely.
yeah, sure. And we'll go through the panelists and make sure that we thank each and every one of them. But Gregory, I'll let you take his comment and respond to it.
For sure. When the relationship begins to slow down or stop growing, you always go back to work on you as the individual because we get comfortable. 100%. I can't agree more with that. A lot of times we do get in like autopilot, right? We get on cruise control. We just go to work, we pay the bills, and we rinse and repeat, and we start doing that. But that makes for a dull life. And so, Ty, you're absolutely right. You have to be intentional about receiving those cues and those nudges from your partner and saying, look, it's getting a little dull around here. It's getting a little boring, and learn how to spice it up when necessary when you're losing that connection. So you want to create yearly habits that keep it going, keep it spicy. You want to at least once a year go to a marriage conference, whether you feel like you need it or not. Men should go to a men's conference once a year, whether they feel like they need it or not. Women should go to a women's conference once a year, whether they need it or not. And then also go on a vacation once a year, whether you need it or not. You set these things in place so you can have intentional excitement, intentional romance, intentional spice in your life. So you don't forget what's the main thing, and that is the marriage and moving the needle forward with your children so they can have a better life than you do.
Yeah, Yeah, great comment. Appreciate that right here. This is from Big Brother Billy Blaine. I can't say
Billy
thank you.
Blood.
Hey,
Um,
Billy.
which one? I'll let you read this one and then respond to it.
Absolutely great job. Each and every segment was power packed. Looking forward for an encore. Stay in touch. We will definitely stay in touch, Billy. Billy is family to me. So thank you so much for opening your microphone for Gerard and Gregory to come and talk about the event. And I love the fact that not only did you let them come talk about it, you came to be a part of it. And that speaks volumes about who you are, not only as a man, but to this community. Everybody knows Billy Bland, the soul man.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. My mom and sisters, when they met him, they was like, "Hey, yeah, I hear you on the radio all the time," and they said it was nice to finally put a face with him and meet him. So yeah, his passion is unmatched. From the
Hmm.
first time when I met him, it's like everybody's important with what they contribute. Some people say, "What can I do?" And some people jump in like, "Here's my resource, and this is what I got for you." And he was that kind of
Hmm.
right there. And again, his passion, it speaks volumes because it made it easier for me to figure out how I can fit in his space,
Right.
maximize the connection. So, and great guy, awesome wisdom, and it's great just to see the elders in the community tuned in and just as passionate
Yes.
about the situations too. So, Miss Ewan,
Absolutely.
Gregory, I'll let you read this one if you will.
Sure. My best moment was the father that prayed with all of his kids each morning in order to break the cycle
Mhm.
when he found himself talking to them like his estranged father talked to him. That was a tearjerker. Yeah, that was one of the more moving moments of the event. The transparency that young father had with being intentional about breaking those generational cycles and wanting to, set the course of a better path for his children. And again, another moving moment that we hope that everybody in the place felt that moment and was encouraged to do the same within their family. And you know what? That's a small gesture, but it makes a big impact. And
Mhm.
every one of us in our own family that has some type of connection with a man has the ability to just make a small little change in your daily habits. How long does it take to pray? What, 2 3 minutes? It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be long to be strong. And
I love that.
so kudos to that brother for saying, you know what, the change starts now. I'm going to do it myself. So yeah,
Yeah,
good for him.
And just
and
to
just
hear his children, just to
yeah,
hear his babies confirm what he's teaching them, I had to fight back tears during that moment. And for him
wow,
to even have the courage to say that in that space of strangers, right? He may
Yeah,
have known
yeah,
some people there, but I know he didn't know me because it was my first time seeing him. So I say to say that in a space of strangers, and also for him to bring up something that we didn't really touch on during the questions and answers, but we should have, and that was respect. You know, even if you don't agree on something, don't become disrespectful. So I really appreciated that, young man. If you're watching and listening, thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, and
yeah.
just full transparency. I know he's watching because we actually talked right before the show. It's my brother. He
Okay.
Anthony.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So he
Oh,
did
he did
open
say
up.
you was his god brother. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah,
That's great.
so appreciate you for that for being open, and that's what you know. I talked to him yesterday. I think Sunday we talked about how other people want to talk, but sometimes they're waiting for others to begin speaking to make it
Mm-hmm.
okay
Hmm.
for them to talk. So he did kind of open up, and a lot of people I know others wanted to talk, but because of the time limit and other constraints, we weren't able to. But what he said was powerful, and his story is one of endurance, one of overcoming, trauma, one of love and grace and all that. So Gregory, you both talked about how important it is to be intentional, and the praying is something intentional that you do. And Gregory, what you say, you
Hmm.
don't have to be long to be strong, right?
That's right.
That's right.
Prayer is such a powerful tool and an overlooked weapon of warfare that we have out there. And to know that he's
Amen.
teaching his youth, his kids right now, how to use prayer and how important it is, that was a powerful moment as well. So thank
Yeah,
you, Brother
yeah,
Anthony, for sharing your story on that. So,
absolutely.
um, yeah, so what we'll do right now, Gregory, we'll let you wrap up the discussion and then we'll come back on the other side of that, and same thing, do the words of encouragement. But we're going to also highlight the participants who was part of
Yeah,
the event.
and we want to speak
Before
on
we wrap
future
up,
projects.
Okay.
okay, Gregory hit. I'll just say before we wrap up, because we saw someone say we saw Billy say about an encore, and we saw Heather say something about a youth event. So I want to
Yeah,
make sure
yeah,
that
we're
we
going to
don't
do that at
we
the end.
address those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Yeah,
going to do that
yeah.
at the end. Yeah.
You know, the Create the Life I Want event was particularly phenomenal because not just for the audience, but also for us that put it on, because of it was a pivot for us. We did have to in the moment make some changes, and so, but what it showed, number one, is that God is true, and if God has given a vision, the vision will go forth. And although that the plan may change, the purpose never does. And so I was just honored to be part of God's purpose because God said this is going to be done, whether or not it was done the way that we originally wanted it, or it's going to be done in a different way. It's still going to be done. And also, it
Mhm.
gave us, I think, for me and for Matwana and for Gerard, it really gave us the feeling of this is what we are capable to do if we set our minds on something. That as a team and
Definitely.
as a unit, that once we stay focused, we there's nothing that we cannot do. And it was a great opportunity for God to show us what we're actually capable of once we put the work in. And so another thing I like to highlight, Gerard and I talk about this all the time, is that we are not jealous of each other, and that was a great takeaway. Everybody knows their gifts. Matwana's gifts are unique, my gifts are unique, Gerard's gifts are unique, and we all want each other to shine. And we were able to bring all of that to the table with no envy, no jealousy, a lot of love, a lot of support, and the people were blessed by it. So the Create the Life I Want event turned out to be more emotionally successful, more personally successful than I think that we originally thought it possibly could be. We brought a
Mhm.
quality event to all of the people there, and not only were the audience blessed, but the people that were facilitating it was blessed also. And then lastly, I want to say this is that I am so grateful that an event like this could be well received because I'm gonna repeat something that you probably heard me say it several times already. The number one killer of men globally is suicide. Under 50 years old, there's more men that die by suicide than any other thing in life. And also, men, black men in particular, at one point in our country was labeled an endangered species. It's not that we're not being born, it's just that more of us are dying than are actually being born. And that's a scary state to be in. And to know that this is was a priority to people was a beautiful event. And so, hey, thank you to everybody that came out and supported us from the bottom of our hearts. It was a pleasure to serve you. And we got some special news for you after the break about how we're going to serve you in the future.
Yeah, actually, there's no break. We're just going to go and let
Oh, no
Matwana
break.
give words of encouragement.
Oh, okay. My bad.
And shout out to Derek Keener. I see your comment, Todd, about
That's
the
right.
comedian was his favorite only because I love to open conversation and close with laughter. Man, I saw Derek in a different life because I've seen him on stage, just doing comedy. But for him to also participate in that panel and share some very personal things, even going back to what you said, Gregory, about at least once a month, sit down and make sure you and your partner are aligned. And Derek gave the cake example. I
Mm-hmm.
love that
Mm-hmm.
example. And
Yeah.
of course, it doesn't have to be cake, but it needs to be something consistent. And so, shout out to Derek.
Bread pudding. Maybe not cake, but bread pudding.
Yeah. I like that.
My
I've
guilty
never
pleasure.
had that.
Hey, yeah, that's good. And just my real quick takeaway is just thanking everyone for trusting us, right? Anytime you
Yes.
exchanging your time and money for something, you want to we as the providers of the service, we want to make sure that we're honoring your sacrifice, right? And
Yes.
when you pivot is what Gregory talked about it, when you have to pivot. The one thing that we was talking about that early Friday morning, we we said the show must go on. We don't know what it's going to
Mhm.
look like, but we put our heads together. And I was texting you both on my flight back to Dallas. In between flights, those flight attendants looking at me sideways because I'm still texting, and we're taxiing, from the gate to the runway. But I'm like, y'all, reach out to your resources. What can we do? Give me your thoughts on this. And less than 24 hours, I say 24 hours, really in about 12 hours, we turned this thing.
Hmm.
And
To
it's
God be
not
the
just
glory.
us. When we reached out to people, Latanya, my
Yes.
sister Latricia, um, Lord, I call her Latricia. That's what everybody else calls her. Her name is Trisha. I'm sorry, sister, if you're listening on there. But I reached out to people and they immediately, Brother Billy, Bland, just the number of people there, it was an immediate yes. And what can I do? And
Yes.
we're gonna make it happen. And it took that, right? And it shows me what we can do as a community. Right now, we're in just some volatile times right now where we are literally
Right.
under attack. And this is no hyperbole. But what it takes is what we did. Is we pulled our resources together. We leaned on each other. We trusted each other, and we was vulnerable
Hmm.
and transparent with what we needed in our ask. And
Right.
sometimes we worry that people are going to tell us no, but man, people say yes. And so it's the last part of that is don't use fear. Don't let fear cripple you from moving forward. If it was easy, the easy thing to do was just to say forget it and move on about our business, but it wasn't an option, and it's because
Right.
it was y'all both said this was bigger than us, and if
Hmm.
we think
Yeah.
this was a God ordained mission, it was like, hey, just push forward, and that's what faith
Yeah.
looks like, and we put it in place. So thank the community for trusting us. We do not take that for granted. We're staying
Never.
in the community. This is our city, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But again, thank you all for helping us pull this off.
And that's right, Denisha. It was packed.
It
And
was.
Gregory mentioned, people
In the box.
leaving. But when I stepped out in the hallway, it was people standing in the hallway listening,
Yeah.
even if they didn't have a chair, and that just moved my heart. So that number one, I realized next time we will need a bigger venue. Thank you so much to your sister Gerard for accommodating us last minute at that location. But I think the most important thing, if I had to leave, with these words, is I believe that this whole situation was a opportunity from God to see, can you be faithful with little? Faithful with little, I will give you much. And so we look forward to partnering with everyone in the community to grow bigger and bigger with the Floor is Yours podcast events. And from the youth to the women to the men, like Gregory said, maybe one day we will be the people putting on the women's conference, the marriage conference, the men's conference, the youth conference, and that will become part of our brand. So thank you to everybody in Texarkana surrounding areas, not just those who came, but those who showed up online. We can't
Yeah.
forget about that, going live from the
Mm,
podcast. You weren't able to
mm-hmm.
be in the building, but you still were there with us in spirit and online. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's dope. That is dope. Yeah. So a couple of things that we need to do before we close out. We teased that we got some other things coming up on in the future. Who wants to lead that discussion? Twana, I know
Gregory.
you. Okay, Gregory, go ahead.
One of another great takeaway from this event is that people also let us know how can we serve them more. And so, of course, the goal of this podcast is to serve the people in a real and relevant way. And so, one of the biggest needs that we discovered is our young people are needing leadership. Our young people are needing a blueprint on how to be adults and be happy and healthy and productive citizens. And so, we want to be able to be of service to that need. And so we are currently working on our next event, which will be a youth event. We're super excited about it because we think that it's very important to catch our children when they're young because we know that everybody's looking for a place to fit in. And so before negative influences grab our children, we want to grab them with positive influence and grab them with love, and so that they can feel supported and loved and encouraged and have a sense of direction and not just out here trying to figure it out for themselves. And if we can serve the community that way, then we're happy to do so. So we are currently in the works. We're brainstorming. We're getting the vision clear, and you guys will be hearing from us soon about our next youth event. And we want the same excitement that we had for the create the life I want event to be poured into our youth as well. Maybe even more so because we want to love on our children so that they can know that their future can be successful and with no doubts.
Yeah. And the thing
Mhm.
about it too is that we're not talking about like in the distant future. We're talking about here in the
Right.
near future doing that too. But
Right.
another one that
Right.
we got asked about is a women's conference as well. So we
Oh
want to
yeah.
Yes.
make sure that we're pointing to our female counterparts. Um, Matwana, you want
Keeping
to
us busy.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
talk about
Thank you so much, Denisha, for affirming that a women's conference is needed. We will be working on that in 2026, the early part of 2026. So we don't plan on stopping. We plan on keeping the momentum going, and every time we look to get better. One thing that I loved about this team is that after Saturday night, that night we debriefed and tried to see what can we do better, how can we do better. We didn't wait to talk about the next thing. And so, with us keeping that type of momentum going, there's no telling what God will do through us. We're
Absolutely.
open, like we're just open to serve and do His will for His people.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
for sure.
And we need you guys, the audience. Tell us where you feel
Yes,
that we could be the greatest of service, and we're happy to do our part and help move that along. Go. What did you say, Gerard? Go.
work on that man ritual.
I was
I'm
just
Oh,
gonna let y'all have that one.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, you go ahead, Greg. Finish. I mean,
no, hey, no, we're here to serve, and we're here to do it in a way that's impactful and meaningful. So keep the comments coming, keep the suggestions coming to us, and as much as we can, we want to be of service and of benefit to everyone here. So keep in touch, keep
so
keep
now,
sharing.
Please.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And last, what we want to do is make sure we highlight each person individually. And there's so many, so we no way we
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
touch everybody, but those on the panel and who just did some of the work. And if we forget you, please don't charge it to our head, right? Don't charge it to our heart, charge it to our head because our heart is in the right place. But first, I'm gonna start with the ladies, Aja, Miss Aja Walker. So she's a therapist counselor there in the Texas County area, and she
No.
actually opened up her services to the people that was in attendance. So Miss Aja, she's been on the podcast as well. She specializes in grief counseling. She also does some couples counseling as well. And one of the things that I like that's pretty like wow about her is she moved from big city, big Austin, Texas, to little old Texarkana, and that lets you know for her, and she talked about that she believes in purpose. She believes
Hmm.
that she is where she needs to be, and she has literally unpacked her heart there and ready to serve the community. So thank you, Aja, for being a part of this event, and we couldn't have done it without you. So anybody want to add to that?
No, she's
She's
phenomenal.
amazing.
Yeah, you
She
want to
held
check
her
her out.
own as the only woman on the panel. So
Yes, she did. She
Oh
did.
yeah,
she
Yeah.
did it. She clocked it.
Is that how you do it? Is am I doing it right?
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
she clocked it.
Okay, okay. Hey, our very own Miss Matwana Bruce. Gregory, I'll let you talk about her and what she brought to it, and how enjoyable it was to work with her.
Look, Matwana Bruce is a powerhouse. She snuck up on us. She comes across real quiet and dainty when she's not on stage. She stepped on stage, and I thought the people were going to catch the Holy Ghost. She is that powerful of a speaker. I was like, "What is this a revival we're having?" Because when she stepped on the stage, she just commanded it. And so Matwana, what led the panel, kept us on course. There was a lot of passion, which is a hard role to play because there's a lot of passion when you lead a panel. People feel very strongly about their viewpoints, and she was wrangling everybody and making sure that we stayed on topic and we stayed on time. And so you did an excellent job with that, Matwana. And I know that's not an easy
Thank
role to
you.
play, and you did it with a lot of grace and a lot of. You made it look easy, and I know that it
Thank
wasn't.
you.
And so thank you for bringing your gifts, and you truly elevated the room.
Hey, and
Thank
one
you.
thing that stood out that she did, she let me know that she read the announcement without letting me know she read the announcement. She went up there, she said something, then she ended with "Amen."
That's right.
How we do it in church. We're like
That's
"Amen."
right. Definitely got that church
Hey,
vibe.
It's
yeah,
in me.
it's
What's
in
in you
Mhm.
come out. It's in me. It's just who I am.
your contribution was invaluable. How you stepped in, and whatever, and you honor other people's opinion, and that right there is priceless, right? So you just did it naturally. So thank you for being
Yep.
a part of this, and you
Thank
want to
you.
be a part of it. That right there in of itself shows just who you are as a person. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bishop Riley, who you want to talk about? This brother, this accomplished brother who's just full of resources and talent and just passion for what he do. But he walked up and one of the things he said at the end, he was like, "Brother, y'all did well. He said, y'all packed the house on a Saturday evening." And I didn't think
Yeah.
about it until he said it. And when I tell you we packed the house, that space was supposed to only hold 50. I was counting there at least about 86 people in there. I
Yeah.
mean, we were shoulder to shoulder on the line. And I'm just thankful that the fire marshal didn't come because we'd have been in trouble. I'd have told him
Right.
that Gregory and Matwana was in trouble. You know, but brother Bishop Riley, he brings a lot to it, and we're talking about working with him in the future too. But I'll let you both
Absolutely.
talk about Bishop Riley. For a moment.
Yeah, Mr. Riley's a smooth, cool, laid back kind of brother. Has that disposition of just kind of mellow and calm. But when he was on the panel, when he made his point, he was clear and he was bold. He said it with his
Yeah,
whole chest and he meant it. He was standing on business. And
yeah,
so I appreciated that because he's a man that says what he means and he means what he says. And so it was just a joy and a pleasure to have someone of that caliber and with that type of conviction to pour into this event. So thank you so much, Bishop. We appreciate you being there.
yeah,
Yes, and I appreciate that. You just didn't show up as the pastor. You showed up as a business owner, an author. You showed up. You brought your whole self to the event, and you didn't try to preach to people. You gave real raw truth, as Gregory said. You stood on business about everything that you said, and so I appreciate that.
yeah. Sure. Thank you, Bishop. And we will be reaching out to you here later in the week so we can figure out what's next. So thank you for the opportunity to work with you ongoing. Um, when you see some people, they tell you don't judge a book by its cover, right? That's one of the oldest piece of wisdom that's out there that's relevant today. And when you see these big black men, you was like, oh man, you can get intimidated by some of them sometimes. So in comes this guy. He got to be at least what 6'3".
At
You know,
least because I'm 6'2", so he has to be at least
yeah.
6'3". Yeah.
And then he's stout. He played linebacker in school, right? And he had this big cowboy, but his presence commands respect. Not demand, but commands his respect. But then when he talk, you hear his passion for people and for what he do, and he listens. And one thing I learned about this brother, he's big on self accountability. I'm talking about Todd
Mhm.
Hudson. So
Yeah.
if you were there, you saw this big guy, 6'4", big guy, but his heart is golden. And Todd, when I met him in Vegas, so I was going to Vegas a few years straight doing the men's mental health conference there. I was invited by a good friend of mine, Natasha. She's the director of pediatric medicine, I think, at UNLV. Esteemed, accomplished woman that pours out into men too, right? But so she did this men conference there. So they invited me to speak a few times. I met Todd and Anthony, and we'll talk about him later. But Todd is just this stable, consistent presence in the neighborhood there in the community there in Vegas, and he genuinely loves people. It's not about how much money I can make off what I do. When you spend time with that, like it's a full sacrifice. You sacrifice your time, your emotions, right, and this stuff that you carry on even once you get home. But it shows for him how well rounded he is. And again, one of the things I love about him is his need to push, his desire to push self accountability. So, brother
Mhm.
Todd, let's appreciate you for flying in
Yeah.
on your own dime,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah.
You flew in from
Yeah.
Vegas,
God
you
bless you,
drove
brother.
down from Dallas to Texarkana to be a part of
Yeah.
this.
And may God reward you 1,000 times over.
Yeah,
Amen.
yeah,
He's a gentle giant. He really is.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Hmm.
just glad he's my friend though. So I
Yeah.
won't say it on the side, yeah, but good guy. And man, he came with another good brother. Provided everybody was powerful, but his brother provided a different insight from the youth standpoint, as an educator, and it was
Yeah.
Mhm.
invaluable, right? But Anthony Pullum, and he has family from the Texarkana area, and he lives in Vegas too, but his family is from Garland, Arkansas, and he has people that live actually in Texarkana. So
Hmm.
thank you, Anthony, for again flying in on your own dime. Not only
Absolutely.
did you,
Awesome.
but you brought family with you, and you paid for them to get there, and then you invited the family that was here in Texarkana to be a part of the event too. His mother was there, and just to listen to him um, pour into people from the youth standpoint. So sometimes kids don't, often they don't communicate what they're feeling, but he has
Hmm.
built a safe space with the children where they pour into him, and thankfully he was able to amplify, what they are experiencing, so we can better understand what they're needing. So his contributions is also was invaluable. So yeah, I want to add something there on Brother Anthony's.
Yeah, he had an abundance of passion. You can tell that he really cared about education and providing leadership to children. So having him there was definitely a bright spot. He was real, he was relevant, and he you could just see the concern just oozing from his pores. And just another
Mhm.
terrific human being, just a great guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
Listen,
just want to encourage him to, keep going. He mentioned that, there's not a lot of us in education, especially black males. And so I just want to encourage him to keep going, even when it feels like he's the only one, that he's making impact that can go generations just because of one seed that he plants.
amen. Yeah, appreciate them brothers in Vegas, west side of Vegas and north side of Vegas, right?
Right, right,
Oh
right.
yeah, we they stood on business about that too.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Derek Keener, sometimes when you do these topics, you wonder like how does comedy fit in? And when one thing about our community, old Kevin Hart, he did a special years ago. What is Laugh at My Pain or something like that? I
Yep,
forgot the name of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
yep.
But what we do in the community is we not just make fun of it, but it's really just to not be overwhelmed within our sorrows, right? And sometimes that comedy could offer the right balance, of what we're doing. So Derek, he did that, and he does what he do. Well, he hosts, and it was we talked about the event being different in such a tighter space. He came in, he was like, "Man, I'm still here to host. Hey, man,
That's
this
right.
is a mission. Hey, I know it didn't go off like one, but hey, God sent me here, and I just love his commitment to what he did and
Hmm.
the pieces that he brought. He was vocal, he was transparent, he was vulnerable, and most important for all those, he's opinionated, right? And that brother is fearless, man. So thank you, DK, for being a part of it. Anybody want to add to that?
God didn't ask me to help him write the Bible, but if he did, I would have included a sense of humor or laughter as a spiritual gift.
Yeah,
And he
I watch
definitely has the gift of laughter. I mean, from the moment he walked up to the podium until
Hmm.
it ended, you could not be around him and not laugh and not have a good time. And as you said, he was very approachable, very vulnerable, but at the same time, you were just going to have a good time if he was around.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
thank you for
And
coming.
then
Yeah,
Matwana, you
and
talked about his brother. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he had the anointing to cut through the tension during those few heated fellowship conversations. Right, he had a way of
Yeah.
his comedic knife just cutting through there and bringing some calm back to the room. So
Yeah, I was gonna punch him in the stomach for trying to holler at my mama, but we'll talk about that another day. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about his brother, David? Matwana?
David, so again, like Gregory has mentioned so many times before, we had to pivot, which meant that we had to change some things in our agenda. And David didn't know I was going to ask him. Right. So we were getting ready, like it was really, I think it might have been 5 o'clock. Right.
Yeah.
And I looked at David and I knew the Lord told me to pull him in. And of course, at the beginning, he was like, no. And
Hey, come here
so
for that.
I didn't take no for an answer. Anybody that knows me know you may say no, but I'm gonna figure out a way for you to say yes. So anyway, he yielded to God, and when I tell you when he asked God to make that room a sanctuary, I knew I had heard from the Lord to pull him in. He
Yeah.
set the tone for us to go in and do what we came to do.
Yeah, that's dope. And
So
he
thank
actually
you, David.
yeah. And he actually out to me afterwards. So we're gonna talk as a group and see how we can make him a part of this going forward too. He has a passion to
Yes,
serve, and he has a powerful story. So I'm looking forward to
yes,
working
he
with
has
him.
a lived experience, and he has a perspective that not many of us see, and that's being a single father. I
Yeah,
see that a lot. We always hear about single mothers, but he has that perspective that you can bring to the table being a single father. And not only a single father of a girl, right?
hard.
It's one thing to be a girl dad, but still have the mom there to do the girly thing.
Yeah,
But it's a different thing to be a girl dad and you still have to do things that a woman typically does for a little girl. So
yeah,
shout out to David Keener. And yes, we definitely have to figure out a way to bring him in.
yeah, for sure. Oh
Absolutely.
man, this is one of my
Absolutely.
favorites. All of them are, but brother Billy Bland. You know,
Brother Bill.
when you meet people who have a powerful presence, you know, in the community. So just hearing him on the radio, and he is everything that I thought he would be, you know, plus when I met him in person. And I teased this earlier, like there's nothing you ask that he don't, you know, try to figure out how he can help and fill in
Hmm.
and be a just a asset. And he was that man. His wisdom, his passion for this specific topic, his love for people. He has a forgiving and graceful heart. And you know, again, it was like, what do you need? Well, hey, come to the radio. And this ain't, it ain't over now. Like when you're in town again, come see me. He is that brother, man. And I'm blessed for meeting and being part of this event, but also just let him bring me into his fold. And man, I'm gonna sit at his feet because I got some things that I want to talk about as well with this brother, man. But thank you, brother Bland, for welcoming us, for helping us, for pushing us for greatness, and it doesn't go
Yes.
unnoticed. So anybody want to add anything to the brother?
You know, there's very few men that you meet, and you can say they're both strong and sweet at the same time. He has a very sweet soul about him, but he's also a very strong man in his countenance. And so when you are around him, you feel the love of a father, but you feel the strength of a soldier all at the same time. And he is truly just a wonderful individual to be around.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And he's
And
a prime example of, like you said earlier, Gerard, sitting at the feet of your elders. He has so much wisdom,
yeah,
so many resources, and you know it's an example of it's not a competition. You learn from the young and you learn from your
yeah.
elders, and so it's that example of if you sit down and listen, you'll learn something.
Sure, sure, just listen. Yeah, and then his rhythmic talk, the way he talks when
Oh
yeah,
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 he's got that voice. He's got that voice. Yeah, it's
yeah,
like butter.
He want an egg and cheese and a
yeah,
large ice
yeah,
cream.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really. So, when I reached out to him, I was like, "Do you need anything?" Well, actually, the first time we went there, and I was going to leave, I was like, "You need anything?" You know, just what we do. It was just a small ask. I was like, "Man, it's the least I could do." So the second time I came, I was like, "Hey, text, you need anything?" He brought up the same thing. So that last one, I just told Gregory, I was like, man, let's leave a little early. So I'm gonna stop by and get uh not a sausage egg, but egg and cheese
Egg and
biscuit,
cheese.
some
Hmm.
ice, and 2 strawberry packs. I told Gregory, I said, let's leave early so we can go get that for the brother, man. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
he's talking
It
about.
is so funny because I was on the phone with you and Gregory when you was making that order, and I remember saying, "Who eats an egg and cheese biscuit with no meat?" I didn't know you were getting it for Billy. I thought you was trying to watch your weight or something, Gerard.
It do look like I watched my weight.
I'm just saying.
Hey, and you're right. He said with 2 strawberry jellies. You're right. So, you know what? It was just a small ask, and man, if he asked for anything more, I would have done it. But man, thank you a million times over. And my parents, my mom and my sister met him. You know, they were. You could just see that they was ecstatic about brother Billy too, and it was just like it's just good to finally put a face. But he's so welcoming, and man, just a. I love Gregory's description. It's like a father as well, elder, but also
Yes.
so, man, thank you. But his counterpart as well, Mark. He does the Sunday show, and his co-worker, oh man, Pastor Derek Murphy, is his wife. I'm so sorry, I can't think of her name right now.
Angela?
Angela, yeah, Angela. So they both welcomed Jamar and I on Sunday morning, and we opened up about the show, and just they just help us spread the word. And the same thing, their passion for the topic. You know, we thought we was gonna come in and have to carry the show or speak more. Man, Mark started off, and he passed the baton to Angela, and it was just like a normal conversation amongst family, right? It was so
Hmm.
passionate and so welcoming.
Mhm.
So KTOY 104.7, y'all poured out and y'all helped us, and Billy, Angela, and Mark, and the plug, Ashley Smalley, she's the one that helped
Yeah.
us, told us about Mark and set that up. So thank you too for the radio family. And just a quick plug, Gregory used to do radio. So
I
he felt right
did.
at home when we was
He
there with
he
us.
That
has
was.
the radio voice.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I loved it. It was great. I could have been there all day. You had to pull me out, you
Yeah.
know. I said,
Praise dancers. Matwana, you want to talk about them real quick and give them a thank you?
Yes, their mom. I went to school with their mom, Tashima Dixon, and every time I see those young ladies minister, I've known them for a long time when they were much younger, and they have a heart for God and they're passionate
Ooh,
every time they minister. It's more than just dancing for them; it's actual ministry. And so, thank you so much for you ladies, 'cause with your grown self, you're adulting now.
you
Thank
know,
you so much for coming out.
you know when I saw them and they were expanding and their face and coming out, I was like, oh, they're hot. And I kept looking at them. I'm like, no, the spirit is moving in them.
Hmm.
So it is. It's a ministry, and they take it serious. And thank God. But Jamar, we'll talk about him for he set that up, and they were, man, it was a welcome sight just to see them pour out their gift. And people got different
Yes.
gifts, and they all is equally important. So that it was one of the things. I'm like praise dancing. I'm like for this, but it was what we needed, right? And I
Mhm.
love what they brought to it, and I would love to work with them more in the future. So yeah, if you could reach out to them and let them know. Let's see how we can.
Absolutely. I reached out to their mom.
Um, Jamar, your cousin Matwana, let you talk about how
Mhm.
he even put this together and brought us all together. People who had never met. You and Gregory, two of them, y'all had never met the people in Vegas, and even some of the people in Texas County, y'all had never met. But Jamar put this event together, and it was his vision, and he brought me in early. And some of the people, I believed in it so much that some of the people thought it was my event, and I was like, no, that's just my passion and belief in what we were brought here to do. So I'll let you talk about Jamar.
Yeah, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm having this event. I partnered with Gerard Ware." I said, "Oh, Gerard, because you're good friends with my cousin TJ," and asked me to be a moderator for the panel. And so, of course, I said yes. I definitely believed in the purpose, men's mental health, because I think it's important to remain true to the fact that our men have to be healthy in order to lead.
Yeah.
There's no way
Can you
around
say
that.
that again?
Our men have to be healthy in order to lead.
Wow.
And so it was an automatic yes for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for putting that together, Jamar Gregory. You want to say anything before we move?
yeah, I want to, it's important for us to honor the man that had the vision first, because I think it shows the power of obedience. And when there is a vision that is given to you and you share that vision, you don't know how it ripples into the lives of others. And as you illustrated earlier, there were people that are now friends for life because Jamar had a vision and he shared the vision. There were people that were healed because Jamar had a vision and he shared the vision. There will now be future conferences because Jamar had a vision and he shared the vision. And so God is blessed and honored when we have obedience. And so, even despite our own limitations, if we were to share the vision that God has given us, we don't know how far that vision can cast, and we don't know the impact of sharing that vision. And so, I just want to thank Jamar for his obedience in sharing and receiving the vision and sharing the vision. And now that the vision has been shared, it can now be a blessing to others.
Praise the Lord. And last but not least, our keynote speaker, the great Gregory McKinney.
No.
But Twana, when I met Gregory years ago at Freddie Mac, I just remember hearing this brother talk. I'm like, man, is he trying to make his voice sound like that? You know. But Gregory, a lot of people don't know, and we've talked about it. Gregory actually has worked radio, but Gregory had a podcast too, and he invited me on, and it was my first glimpse of being on the actual podcast, and it was fun. Me and a couple other army buddies. But fast forward, I made a post in the summer of last year. I remember this because I was on actually vacation in Chicago, and Gregory commented on the post. And he was like, man, it's interesting. And I was just like, that was a question. Like the comment was like, he's saying something more than just, hey, this is an interesting topic. So I actually reached out to him, and I don't know if you remember this. You actually called me. We were in the middle of hanging out with a group of us, and you couldn't even hear us. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry, bro. I know I told you to call me at 2 o'clock, but it's noisy. I said, let's table this and come back. And he came back, and I told him what we were doing on the podcast and what we were trying to do going forward. And it was an immediate yes. So he jumped on. We did some other things with some other people that he met and I introduced him to. But his passion for men, his passion for relationships with people in general, but it's like it starts with us. And the way he empowers men, encourages men, um, it's unmatched, man. And it's a gift. It's not just you out here trying to do it, because it's popular or easy. You bring a wealth of knowledge, your skill set that you brought to this podcast. You bought into it, and which was my vision, and you figure out how you can fit in and even make it better. And I share with him all the time when people give me compliments, and some of the compliments are Gregory made the show. Man, Gregory nailed it. There's one in the comments right now for Mia. She said, Gregory for president 2020, 2028. And I'm just want
I'll
you
be
to
your
know,
campaign manager, Gregory.
All right, you got the job. You got the job.
Yeah, yeah. When you get people with your caliber and your passion, like that's what we need. And it's the necessary work for what we do in this community, man. So thank you for being a part of what we're doing
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you for sharing your gifts with us, and thank you, man, just for your friendship and your brotherhood. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you for those kind words. Thank you very, very, very much. It means a lot. It does.
Again, like Gerard said, I didn't know Gregory before the Create the Life I Want event. So we met coming together for this particular event. And I think one of the first things I noticed about Gregory is his vulnerability, and just talking about going through his own healing process and how that helped him help others heal. That made a great impact in how I saw him when I first met him. And what that told me was it's that he knew that it was bigger than him. That it was about serving God first, but also being a blessing to God's people. So I am thankful to God that this event brought all of us together. Even with you, Gerard, like I said, I've always known you, but you're older than me, and hung out with my cousins. So I'm just saying. You are older than me, though. I'm not lying. But what I'm saying is, I knew you because of your relationship with my cousin, but I didn't know you personally like that, outside of my cousin and my sisters.
Yeah.
So, I got to see a different side of you, going through this journey, and I'm just grateful. Just grateful.
Yeah, 1000%. And we can't close with our course talking about Gerard really championing us moving forward, because where everybody else was just kind of like throwing up their hands, Gerard stood up as a man, stuck his chest out, and said, we're going to keep our word. We're going to do what we
Yes.
said we were going to do and bring a service to the community. And had it not been for Gerard leading the campaign, taking up the sword and saying, we're going to cross this finish line, even if we got to limp across, we're going to make this happen. None of this would have happened. It really, because Gerard was the one that said, hey, Gregory, I still think there's an opportunity here. Would you like to do it? And because of my respect and my love for this brother, I said, sure, whatever, however I can be of service, you let me know and I'll get behind you. And that's the kind of caliber of man that Gerard is that just by his word alone, he can make things happen. We got the space because of Gerard. We got the talent because of Gerard. We got the audience
Mhm.
because of Gerard. And so what Gerard brings to the table is really invaluable. And so salute to you, Soldier, for championing this and making sure that we complete the mission. When everybody else
Mhm.
would have stopped, you said no. We're not going to stop until we can say mission accomplished. So I salute you, King.
I
Right,
appreciate
right. And not to add, add to Gregory, he was doing this in between flights because he was
Yep.
traveling for work. And I thought it was so funny. He called me at 6 o'clock in the morning. He said, well, I saw you posted, so I knew you was up. I just want to tell you, Gerard, that on Facebook you can schedule posts, so that don't mean that you own Facebook.
Well, the
No,
spirit moved me.
and so just throughout all of Friday morning, like finally I had to say, Gerard, I haven't even had my coffee yet. But yeah, okay, let's do
Right,
it.
right, right. So I messed around. And I told Gerard that I wake up at 6 o'clock every day of the week, Sunday through Sunday, right? And lo and behold, I got a text message from Gerard every morning, like around 6:01, saying, "Let's meet downstairs. So we got to be here by this time." Like, Gerard, I just woke up.
Hey man, blame Uncle
Listen,
Sam, man. It's the army
Yeah,
and the soldier for life, bro. That's funny,
yeah,
man. Hey, yeah, appreciate my family, the family support. We
yes,
when you doing stuff as an entrepreneur or you trying to move in the space of service, you're trying to figure out the niche, like what's important, where your support comes from. And I tell people what I've learned is like it's easy to think, convenient to think you're just going to lean on your family and your friends, and a lot of times that don't pan out that way.
hmm,
Sometimes it does. And man, my family supported like they always do. And same thing with you, Matwana. Your family showed up. And I imagine if we was in
yes,
Gregory's backyard, his family would have showed up. Actually, people reached out to
hmm.
Gregory. They was trying to surprise him
yeah,
and come to
yeah.
the event, right? So when
Oh,
families
awesome.
support you and believe in your vision, man, that's the added plus, because they don't have to. They can spend their money, their
Yes.
time anywhere they want to. But man, my folks showed up, man, and I am so thankful. In the community,
Yeah, mine did too. Thank you so much to the Bruce family. Thank you to Jamar's parents and sister and little cute nephew. I wanted to bring him up there with me when we were doing the panel. He was walking back and forth. But thank you to everybody that came out to support family and friends.
the community, man, y'all made it known what y'all wanted, and the involvement, the lead up. Dr. Jennings, way from down in
Yes.
Killeen, she was part of 2 shows the week of when we was pushing the show. Man, just again, I can name 1,000 more people, but Corey and Heather, thank y'all. Yeah,
Yeah.
just everybody, man. This was a success because of y'all. So thank you. Gregory, you want to shut
Definitely
us
do
down?
it better together.
Oh yeah,
That's right. Most definitely.
Gregory, you can close us out, brother.
I will. I'll be happy to see. At the end of the day, what we learned from all of this is that what Matwana just said. We all do it better together. That all of us can. The Bible says one can put 1,000 in flight, two can put 10,000 in flight. So imagine what a community could do when it works together.
Mm,
And that's what happened this weekend. The community came together, and we were intentional about turning the tide, changing the stigma for men's mental health. And then not only that, but we got the unction and the vision to do more. And so I'm proud to say that this is only the beginning. The best days
yes.
have just now started. The future is brighter than the past. That this right here was an opportunity just for us to recognize what we are capable of doing, and most importantly, what God is capable of doing inside of us and through us. And so we're excited about the future, and we're so thankful to everyone that showed up. It was a great event, and trust me, it meant just as much to us as it did to you. So thank you for coming out, everyone. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
To everyone watching, this is the Floor is Yours podcast. We want to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe, and stay connected with us. Let us know what topics you would like for us to discuss, and we'll bring on people that are smarter than us that can help move the needle forward so that you can get the information that you need to live your best life and create the life that you want. We love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And in the meantime, peace, love, and hair grease. We out.
Won't need another, this one here really do it for you. Baby, the floor is yours.